Well, it's Halloween weekend and UFC has put together a pretty solid card that may want to make you stay in. Seriously, UFC Sao Paulo is one of the better free cards the company has held in recent times. In the headlining slot, former UFC champ Lyoto Machida returns to action after an 18-month USADA suspension to take on middleweight contender Derek Brunson. Apart from the great striking battle in the main event, UFC Sao Paulo hosts many other interesting bouts as it features a pivotal welterweight bout between talented grapplers Damian Maia and Colby Covington, a promising fight between ranked bantamweights Pedro Munhoz and Rob Font, an intriguing matchup involving established lightweights Francisco Trinaldo and Jim Miller, a fan-friendly fight in John Lineker vs. Marlon Vera, and much more. What UFC Sao Paulo UFC Fight Night 119 where Ibirapuera Gymnasium, Sao Paulo, Brazil. When Saturday, October 28th. The two-fight UFC Fight Pass preliminary card begins at 7:00 p.m. ET. The four-fight Fox Sports 2 preliminary card begins at 8:00 p.m. ET, and the six-fight main card begins at 10:00 p.m. ET on Fox Sports 1. Derek Brunson vs. Lyoto Machida. Machida is finally returning to the octagon after serving an 18-month USADA suspension. The Dragon is not getting an easy welcome to the UFC, as he's taking on a top 10 middleweight in Derek Brunson. Being a former world champion, Machida has tons of experience under his belt. The Brazilian is a carrot-based striker that also possesses a decent ground game. Machida is quick and throws his opponents off with his unique striking. The 39-year-old fighter lost his last two outings where he was stopped by Luke Rockhold and Yoel Romero. Although long layoffs are usually bad in MMA, I actually think this time off will be good for Machida's body. Brunson is a good striker. He might not be as technical as Machida, but definitely has more power behind his shots. Unlike his opponent, Brunson has good wrestling and can control many on the ground. Brunson has a big advantage in strength and athleticism, but he's far less experienced than Machida. This is a fun main event. Brunson can give plenty of problems to Machida if he manages to mix his striking and wrestling well. Machida is the better striker here and I can see him capitalizing on any opening to land a finishing blow. I'm a little hesitant to pick Machida, but my gut tells me he gets a highlight reel finish. Pick Machida. Damian Maia vs. Colby Covington. This is a fantastic matchup that could easily be part of a pay-per-view main card. Damian Maia vs. Colby Covington is a very important fight for the welterweight division that involves two of the best grapplers in MMA. Damian Maia is the gold standard of jiu-jitsu in MMA. The Brazilian has amazing top control, flawless transitions, and very dangerous submissions from both top and bottom positions. The only thing in Maia's grappling that could use some work are his takedowns. Maia has a solid single leg and can chain that well with other techniques, but that's about it. Maia doesn't have good throws or double leg takedowns in his arsenal. And on the feet, Maia can hold his own but doesn't pose much of a threat. Meanwhile, Covington is not as technical as Maia on the ground, but he does have better takedowns and a top game that can present issues to the Brazilian. Covington is also better than Maia in the clinch and way more athletic overall. Striking-wise, Covington is a little better than Maia but not by a lot. This is an interesting fight. Maia can win at any time, as he only needs one small mistake from his opponent to lock in a submission. And although it's probable that Maia walks out with a submission win, I think Covington has the tools to stay out of trouble and earn a decision win. Tough fight. I've been going back and forth, but I think Maia locks up a submission to win the fight. Pick Maia. Pedro Munhoz vs. Rob Font. Here we have two top 15 bantamweights looking to continue their win streaks in hopes of breaking into the top 10 of the division. Rob Font is an extremely well-rounded fighter. Font has good takedowns, a solid ground game and submissions, and a pretty complete striking arsenal. Font also has a decent amount of experience and he is a good athlete. Meanwhile, Pedro Munhoz is well-rounded, but not as much as Font. Munhoz has a very advanced jiu-jitsu game that's probably better than Font's. However, on the feet, Font is more skilled. Overall, Font is more versatile than Munhoz and I think that will get him a win here. I think Font is skilled enough on the ground to stay out of trouble and good enough on the feet to win rounds. Pick Font. Francisco Trinaldo vs. Jim Miller. This is a great booking that pits together two of the toughest and most seasoned fighters in the UFC's lightweight division. Miller is a strong and gritty grappler that also possesses solid Muay Thai. It's safe to say that the 34-year-old veteran is a pretty complete fighter. Miller is also super durable and extremely experienced. Francisco Trinaldo is very similar to Miller. The Brazilian is an extremely tough veteran and possesses a great grappling game. Although they have very similar fighting styles, Trinaldo is a bit more competent in the striking department than Miller and has significantly more punching power. Trinaldo is a better athlete, being much stronger and having better cardio, and seems to have less wear than Miller. I think this will be a very fun and competitive fight that will have Trinaldo walking away with a win. I see Trinaldo pressing forward and overpowering Miller in any area of the game. Miller has the tools to be a threat, but Trinaldo is just too solid in his defense and too durable to get stopped by Miller. I see Trinaldo picking up a solid decision, but wouldn't be surprised if he gets a stoppage here. Pick Trinaldo. Thiago Santos vs. Jack Hermansson. Solid middleweight fight. Thiago Santos is a very strong and explosive fighter. The Brazilian has good striking with tons knockout power. That's accompanied by a good takedown defense and a decent ground game. Meanwhile, Hermansson is a complete fighter that can strike and do some damage on the ground. The Swede has good takedowns and good ground and pound. I can see Hermansson getting a win here using his wrestling and clinch work, but I can also see a scenario where Santos stops Hermansson with a big shot or simply manages to outstrike him while defending his takedowns. Close fight, but I think Santos pulls this one off. Pick Santos. John Lineker vs. Marlon Vera. Here's a fun bantamweight, but that sort of came out of the blue. John Lineker is a scary fighter that has tons of knockout power and throws his hands often. The Brazilian has great takedown defense and good grappling as well. Lineker is currently ranked 5th in the division, and he's considered among the elite at 135 pounds. On the other hand, Marlon Vera is a 24-year-old prospect who is starting to come into his own. The Ecuadorian fighter is on a 3-fight win streak and has shown improved striking and grappling in his latest streak. Chito has the reach advantage and he's a bit more slick on the ground than Lineker. However, Lineker is far more powerful and more dangerous on the feet. I think Vera can put up a good fight, and think he's being very underestimated here. If given the chance, Vera can be a threat on the ground. However, I think Lineker only loses to the top 3 of the division. Pick Lineker. Undercard. Nico Price def. Vicente Luque. Antonio Carlos Jr. def. Jack Marshman. Hakron Diaz def. Jared Gordon. Alazu Zaleski dos Santos def. Max Griffin. Jared Brooks def. Davison Figueiredo. Marcelo Gomes def. Christian Colombo.